Today we are finishing our series by talking to the last two of our All-State Festival conductors, the Jazz Ensemble and Vocal Jazz Ensemble conductors, on today's PMEA's Take Note podcast. Well, everybody, and welcome to this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. And this is one in a series of podcasts where we are going to be speaking with the All-State conductors for this year's PMEA All-State Festival. So I'm delighted to bring in one of those six conductors. Joe Boga is here. He will be conducting the Jazz Ensemble. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark.
So we have a lot of students watching this, we know, who very well may end up being in that ensemble. So let's level set a little bit. Give us kind of your bio. Tell us about you.
Cool. So yeah, I'm the lead trumpet player in a group that specializes in the 1920s and 30s called Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks. You've probably heard them on TV shows such as like Boardwalk Empire and movies such as The Aviator and The Joker. Things like that. Before that, and currently still, I'm like a freelancer. I do all sorts of different types of gigs. I do orchestra gigs, some Broadway stuff, some avant-garde stuff. Yeah, I have a lot of musical interests, and I kind of keep those all going. I live here in New York City. And yeah, I went to Juilliard. I studied at Juilliard. I got my bachelor's in music there. And before that, I studied with Wynton Marsalis growing up. I had a lot of really great musical experiences. And with all that knowledge and experience, I'm really excited to be able to share that with the students.
Yeah, so just hearing that brief sketch, I think I'm going to have you back on a podcast some other time just to talk about some of the awesome stuff you've done in your career. But we'll leave that for then because we want to talk about what's going to be happening at the All-State Festival. So talk to us a little bit about the musical program that you've selected for the Jazz Ensemble for this year's All-State Festival.
So my idea for the program is kind of to take everybody on a musical journey from the beginning of the swing era kind of through the modern day. We're going to start with like a Benny Carter song and do some early Duke Ellington, kind of progress through some later Duke Ellington, cover Count Basie, and eventually kind of end on Thad Jones and a current modern composer that I like very much. A man by the name of Nate Sparks, who's currently the director for the Des Moines Symphony Youth Jazz Orchestra. And he has his own big band. He's a good friend of mine. And, you know, we were in Juilliard together, genius ears, genius composer, and just kind of connect the dots from that early swing era music to what people are doing now with jazz and with swing.
That's really cool. I love the progression, and I think that's wonderful for the students then to be exposed to a few of those different things. So, you know, talk to us about then the students. You know, what are you hoping that they're going to get out of this experience of you? You know, what you can bring to them and what they'll take away from being in the Jazz Ensemble.
Sure. One of the most important things to me for them to take out of it is to learn to really listen to music and really listen to people. Because I think that's just really important in really learning about things. I have a couple stories about this, and you can stop me if I'm going on too long, but I'm really passionate about this because something Vince Giordano, I subbed in his band for like 8 years, I guess not 8 years, 6 years before I joined the band officially as a lead trumpet player. I used to sub for the second trumpet player, and I used to play all sorts of gigs with Vince, and he really is like a very important musical father and taught me so much, even though I went to Juilliard and even though I had all these experiences. You know, I remember one month I was like subbing on all the gigs. I had like 4 or 5 gigs a week with Vince's band. And at the end of a gig, I remember feeling really confident that I sounded good. Man, I played the trumpet well. And I went up to him afterwards to thank him. And, you know, he said to me, he's like, you know, Joe, you sound okay, but you just aren't really getting it. You know, the vibrato, you got to get the vibrato. It's like an accent. You know, maybe sometime like go home and listen to Louis Armstrong. Listen to the way he, at the end of every phrase, he puts a little vibrato. And I remember at the time kind of being like, I mean, I've listened to Louis Armstrong. Like in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I've listened to Louis Armstrong a lot. I could sing through all these Hot Fives and Hot Seven recordings. I got all the solos memorized. But I learned from Wynton when I was younger, never talk back and just sit, think about it. And so the whole subway ride home, I was sitting there thinking to myself, really, at the end of every phrase, that fast vibrato at the end of every phrase, I don't know. This seems kind of weird. And even though I knew these recordings so well, I was able to sing pitch perfect all these solos. I went home and, at the end of every phrase, a little bit of vibrato, a little bit of that fast vibrato, lighting up the sound and really making it exciting. And it totally changed the way I heard music after that. And I mean, I listened to crazy amounts of music, and obviously these songs, I knew a lot about it. But I think music really is a language, and thinking of it like that is important, that there can be a lot said in things other than just the words. So I was kind of mainly concerned with the notes, the words that are coming out of someone's mouth, but you could say the same sentence in a different way and mean something completely different. And that's the part that Vince kind of taught me. And, if I can kind of demonstrate that to the students, and really make clear that it's like an accent. It's a way of communicating emotions. It's not just about, look at this cool thing I can play, or look how virtuosic I am at the instrument. It's about communicating something heartfelt. And with that, there's a lot of sound that goes into that beyond just the pitch.
Yeah, and I think that's just one of the really cool things about things like an honors ensemble like this, an all-state festival. That you're there to come up with that end product that we mentioned earlier of all those pieces of music that you're going to play. But the other piece of that puzzle is those little tidbits, right, that you're talking about, because that was something that stuck with you. And I guarantee you're going to say something that's going to stick with one of those kids. I remember things that stuck with me from a district band that I was in, however many years ago, but it's that one little thing. So that's so awesome that is, that's your kind of your mentality going in. And I'm sure the students will get a lot out of that. So speaking of these types of festival things, let's talk a little bit about your involvement in PMEA. As a student, and then even after that, as in your professional career. You talk to us about that.
Sure. Yeah, PMEA festivals were very important to me growing up. It's something that I got out of school, and I got to hang out with other people my own age who were really interested in what I was interested in. Obviously, I studied with Wynton Marsalis. I had all these great experiences going to New York City and playing, but nothing can really replace that important connection with some people who are on your own level. It's great to have masters teach you, but it's really important to be able to share your love of whatever you do with people who are at the same place in life and at the same skill level. I mainly did the orchestra festivals due to some weird PMEA bylaw thing. I was like in my high school orchestra, but not my band. So I played trumpet in, district orchestra, regional orchestra, all state. I went to MENC, All Eastern, and I just loved the festivals. I also did the District 9 jazz band. And it's funny, actually, the year that I went to All State Orchestra, there was another student just talking about people your own age and the ways in which connections happen. This trumpet player by the name of Jonathan Heim, who I had met in another type of jazz band thing. We were both at All State, at a regional orchestra, and he ended up going on to being the lead trumpet in the All-State Jazz Band. I was the lead trumpet the principal trumpet in the All-State Orchestra. And then years pass by, and we both end up at Juilliard together. And then, years pass again, and now I'm playing with Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks, and he just finished up doing like a year stint with the New York City Ballet. So just all these types of crossovers and these connections that you make as a student in PMEA festivals. It's really wonderful, and I'm just a big fan of them. I think it's great.
Let me give a takeaway tip based on that for the students that are watching. Save your program books somewhere that you will know where they are in 10 years, especially the roster page, because I cannot tell you how many times I have come across somebody and we have discovered that we were in a district band or region band or something together all those years ago. And we didn't know each other there, but we can remember experiences from being there. And it's our paths have crossed again. So to the students involved in all this, you never know. And your example is certainly a perfect example of, you just never know when your paths will cross again from being in a special event like this.
Totally.
So, all right. So the students are watching, and they're ready to show up in the Poconos. So, what is the one thing you'd want students to know about you before they arrive and that first downbeat happens?
Sure. I think that, I play early jazz. That's the main specialty that I do, 1920s and 30s jazz. But I have a lot of other interests. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I do all sorts of different types of gigs. I love, like if I were to say my top jazz musicians that I'm the biggest fan of, it's Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Ornette Coleman, which is an odd grouping. Usually people would think that's strange, but that energy and fire is something that I really like. I love Stravinsky. I love a lot of orchestral music. I love a lot of avant-garde music. A guy named Peter Evans, who's this avant-garde trumpet player. Whenever he's in New York City, I always go hear him. On top of that, I have a lot of other weird interests outside of music. I've been collecting old video games since I was in high school. And so I'd like them to just keep that in mind because, in working with this music, I think it's important to communicate the spirit that the music is trying to communicate. I think whether you're playing classical music or jazz, people who write music are trying to say something. And as a performer, you can add what you have to say too, but it's important to get in the mindset and get in the spirit of what that music is. Just like when you're in a video game, if you're playing Skyrim, it's not going to be Tetris. Those are separate games with kind of separate things. And it's important. It doesn't mean you can't have fun playing Skyrim, but they're different things. And so I think keeping those things in mind when I'm asking them to like, hey, get in the style, to be open to that idea.
Well, very cool. I'm sure the students who'll be in the jazz ensemble are going to have a fantastic experience. We look forward to seeing you in the Poconos. We look forward to the concert and seeing what you all put together. Joe, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the Poconos.
Thanks so much. Looking forward to it.
Well, we're continuing now talking with conductors for this year's All-State Festival, and I'm joined now by Charlie Masters, who will be conducting the All-State Vocal Jazz Ensemble. Charlie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So let's start off with kind of the level setting, as I say. Give us your background, give us your bio, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm really thrilled to be here in this capacity with PMEA. I was born in Pennsylvania and went through both my school music program and college, my undergraduate in Pennsylvania. So I'm from the Williamsport area and grew up going through the Williamsport music program. And as I mentioned in my written bio, I really am proud of going through that program. I had amazing teachers that really helped set my North Star as a musician, and a lot of encouragement along the way. And then I ended up actually when I graduated from Mansfield University with a bachelor's in piano performance and music education, I came back to Williamsport and began my teaching career at Curtin Middle School and teaching 6th through 8 classroom music and choir. And from there, I just continued to lean on my mentors and continue my journey to where I am here now at Hatboro Horsham. And so from Curtin Middle School, I worked at Loyalsock Township High School for a few years. And when I was there, one of my vocal jazz ensembles, night music, we had performed at the state convention. I think that was maybe back in 2005 or 2006, I believe. And then I then moved to the Harrisburg area, and I was the director of the choir program at Central Dauphin High School for 5 years, and led several choirs there, and directed the musicals and a vocal jazz ensemble, and one of our performances there as well with CD Singers, we were able to perform at the Pittsburgh conference. I believe that was in maybe 2010. And then I found myself coming to the Philadelphia area. And from 2012 to 2022, I was the Performing Arts Chair and Director of Choirs at Germantown Academy. And here I am now. I shifted back to from independent school to public school, and I'm here at Hatboro Horsham High School directing the choirs. And so that's in a nutshell my musical journey of teaching.
Yeah, so obviously very well qualified to lead this ensemble, having this wonderful variety of experiences. So, talk to us a little bit about what we can expect about the musical program that's been selected for the All-State Vocal Jazz Ensemble.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this program, and really excited to share this with the students and with our colleagues in PMEA and just the general public, because I won't say that there's an initial theme, but I will say there's definitely there's a vibe throughout the whole program of community, of love, of connection, and just coming from a really authentic place of just connecting from human to human. And so one of my big mantras is energy. And so you'll hear this a lot. So the program, really, as far as highlights, the whole program to me is a highlight, because it really includes a little bit of everything. And especially through the lens of vocal jazz, we're able to really push up against some of those growth edges. And it was my hope to share repertoire that was definitely core vocal jazz rep, but also rep that maybe your more general choral director could listen to and be like, oh, maybe perhaps that piece would be something that I could program with my larger choir and dip my toes in a little bit. And so even right off the bat, we have the Jarrett Johnson from Take 6, his arrangement of Lift Every Voice and Sing is going to be the show opener. And that's a really thick a cappella arrangement that truly any choir, and maybe probably more of an audition group, but because it does push you a little bit, but really any high school choir could learn that arrangement. And so really happy to share that. And then we kick it into a really nice laid back funk version of What the World Needs Now, the Burt Bacharach classic, and again, kind of that theme of connection and love, and also with this really, the grooves are really, really hard. One of the big highlights of this program is how much we incorporate the rhythm section. And while we start off with the a cappella arrangement of Lift Every Voice, throughout the rest of the repertoire, it's very lockstep and running parallel with leaning on the rhythm section. And so I'm really excited. I think even to the point where we have a guitar position open as well for the rhythm. And so, yeah, moving our way through, we've got a classic Moon Dance, which is, again, that's going to feature a lot of solos over a C minor blues. So a lot of, there again, opening the door for students to dip their toes into improvisation. It was really important that we provide some of those opportunities. And I have a really amazing arrangement. Actually, two arrangements are from our New York Voices friends, Darman Meter and Peter Eldridge. And so we're going to do For All We Know, which is this really lush, beautiful ballad that's piano accompanied. And then also their arrangement of Mother and Child Reunion, the Paul Simon classic. And so there again, these really tight in the pocket grooves that are just going to make the singers feel good, the audience feel good. There's going to be a little bit of familiarity. There's going to be some songs that and some melodies that are original and maybe more unknown, but kind of a balance of everything. There's repertoire that you can read straight down. There's also, for instance, in Moon Dance, and we're also doing Sharon Broadley's Full Moon. There are some open choruses where students and rhythm section can take some open choruses and improvise. And I'm really, really excited. Our final piece of the whole performance is Lee Tartell, and it's an arrangement by Lee and Greg Jaspers of Stand Up and Make a Change. And so, a little bit, again, that theme holding space for where we are in this moment in general in history, and where we just came out of the pandemic. We to start the program with Lift Every Voice and Sing, to closing the program to Stand Up and Make a Change, and we incorporate What the World Needs Now and For All We Know, and then a little bit of this little moon dance and full moon. So it's this kind of like this sense of change, of moving forward, of connecting, honoring what might have just happened over the last couple of years that have really challenged us, not just with the pandemic, but we went through a lot of tense political cycle, so the racial injustices that we see, and social justice lens that we see around us. So some ongoing work, and just through the lens of equity and diversity, and really bringing everyone to the table. And so I hope through the music, just the sonic landscape of the music itself is really energizing. And then the lyrics are very authentic. And I'm really hoping that, with that idea of windows and mirrors, that students both can see themselves in the repertoire, but also see through and see others and their authenticity. I'm hoping that kind of is the bigger North Star goal here. So, but really excited in general about the rep.
Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic concert we have in the, I just from hearing what you're performing, I think the students are going to get out of it. But I'm curious then, what are your thoughts on what you hope the students will get out of this experience of being part of this all-state vocal jazz ensemble?
Yeah, most importantly, I want students to feel, and I want them to have an aesthetic experience. That aha moment when you hear that chord lock, or you hear a soloist and they just nail it, or that the rhythm section locks in, and the whole group is just just really precision, and the rhythmic intensity is spot on. That feeling that you just can't quite put your finger on, that's the biggest takeaway that I really want students to have, is that aesthetic experience. And then in addition, community and connection. I want them to be challenged and feel that they are contributing to something greater than themselves, and through this lens of music, and through this really specific repertoire, and then again coming together with students, like-minded students from across the whole state, and also of like abilities. It's really to be in the same room as other students that challenge you and push you into your growth edges, I think is really what we're hoping for. But ultimately, I want students to leave this experience having a strong aesthetic experience, and a sense of like wow, what just happened there, and that was really special, and that is only going to happen at that one moment. And that's the beauty of festivals, is that it's this little ecosystem that only happens at that one moment in time, and so it really forces us to be present, and forces us to acknowledge that we're here in this exact moment together. So let's enjoy this, let's make the most of this, and let's lift each other up through music, and have a great performance and a great festival.
So talk then about what's it like for you coming into a festival experience, dropping in for a couple days, and making something happen at the end of it. What's it like for you?
It's a thrill. I mean, this is to direct a festival, and especially of this, this level, at the all-state level. I'm very humbled that first of all that PMEA invited me to guest conduct this year. I have had the pleasure of guest conducting 3 other district jazz festivals, in addition to several song fests and some other events that are similar structure, festival structure. And each time it's a little. I'm very humbled, because you show up and you are the person that everyone's excited about, and it's kind of a using that energy and kind of filtering it back to the kids, and creating this special moment that everyone realizes, like, wow, this is only happening right now. And so for me to just drop in is such a thrill and such a gift. And I am so grateful. I'm grateful to the directors. I'm grateful to the larger PMEA for supporting these initiatives like the All-State Festival. And I know too, with especially with Vocal Jazz, it's kind of its own little niche thing. And so where it might not be as prevalent in programs, but the fact that teachers and students are willing to take that risk and push themselves and to trying something a little new. And of course, we have our veteran vocal jazz friends and teachers, and equally as welcome. But I just like that it's this. There's especially with vocal jazz, there's a little bit of this kind of maybe a little a light vibe in the air where a few things, they don't have to be so. We can figure things out as we go. We can be a little bit creative. We can come up with different solutions as opposed to maybe something we would feel a little bit more locked in to a different kind of festival. So I'm just I'm filled with gratitude and energy to work with these students, and just really thrilled to be back. Here we are coming, still taking steps forward, moving from the things from the pandemic. And I feel like we're at a really great place right now as as an organization, as a state, as a cohort of teachers and learners. We're at a really critical point where we can really take things to the next level. And it's time for us to collectively to step forward. And so I'm just thrilled to be part of that and to help lead that charge and maybe do whatever I can to help kids and help them grow in their own musicianship.
Well, so yeah, we're thrilled to have you doing that and joining us on the Poconos for the All-State Festival. So we likely have a lot of the students who will be participating in the Vocal Jazz joining us, watching this today. So what would be the one thing you would want them to know about you before that first downbeat of rehearsal?
It's really simple. Energy. That's it, friends. Bring some energy. That's all that we need. A few other things like a good sense of humor, and I always tell students to not give themselves such a hard time. Like let's honor everybody in the space and learn together. And so I ask students to show up with some energy, an open mind. Of course, as Dr. Galloway, when I up at Mansfield, he's since retired, but he was our jazz director. He always said, it's fun to be good. And so the inherent notion that to be good, that, you show up with something to offer. And so, I'm going to be providing some rehearsal tracks for the students to help them out along the way, and just ask them to show up with, as much as they can know about the music and understand, and show up with a good attitude and some energy. We're going to have a blast. I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone in the Poconos.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll show up with energy, but if not, it appears you have some to spare that you can spread among the ensemble and probably even beyond that, which is awesome.
I suppose.
Yeah. So, Charlie, thank you for joining us. Thanks for being a guest conductor, and we look forward to seeing you not too long from now in the Poconos.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. I'm really looking forward to it, and to all the students in the ensemble, really looking forward to meeting you, and let's have a great festival.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Thanks again for taking some time to talk to us. And thank all of you for joining us on this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. And we want to thank our sponsor, the Grove City College Department of Music. We will see you next time.